All right, how you guys doing today? We're about to hop into the review of Proverbs chapter 19. The first things first, though, just want to make sure y'all like that video. Hit a little exit full screen, scroll a bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel me? All right, so he starts off verse 1. Better is the poor that walks in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Boom. Be integrous. Don't be perverse in your lips, and don't be a fool. We see this constantly all last chapter, right? The things of the lips, they come from the heart. You mess up the heart, you're kind of just screwed in general, right? Also, that his soul be without knowledge is not good, and he that hasteth with his feet sins. And what this is saying is, right, if you're a soul without knowledge, firstly, that's not good. And if you're fast with your feet, chances are you're going to sin. And what does that mean? You're running off chasing something, right? Your desires that you want, we'll pull this in another translation so I can get the exact wording that he used, right? Desire without knowledge is not good, right? Wanting something without knowing why you want it. Because how many times do we just say, why are you doing this? Because I want to? Like, what kind of question is that? Because I want to. It's fun. I enjoy it. I want to do it, right? And you don't have the knowledge of why you want to do it or what the consequences of this may be, i.e., not having wisdom / not being a prudent person, not considering your paths and where they lead you, right? And he who sins hastens with his feet. You're running too far fast. Think about if you're running what's it called? You're running through an obstacle course. You gotta watch where you're stepping. There might be trip, or not an obstacle course, but like something like you're running through a jungle during a time of war or whatever. There might be trip wires, there may be landmines, rope spring traps, such as that, right? If you make haste with your feet, you missed away. How many times you're driving too fast and you realize, oh, my exit's right there, but because you're driving too fast, you can't merge over in your lane fast enough to get off at your exit. So now you're waiting for the next exit so you can take a big old loop-de-loop and get off at the exit you just missed, which is going to add another 15-20 minutes to your total ride. And who wants that, right? So if you're going too fast, chances are it's going to lead to sin because you're desiring something without knowledge. You don't know what you want, therefore you're running very fast to go get it, and in doing so, you overlook what the Lord has for you. Same type of deal with verse 3. The foolishness of a man perverts his way, and his heart fretteth against the Lord, right? And we'll pull this up in his translation too. Man's folly brings his way to ruin, right? If you're foolish, it's going to pervert your way, and your heart rages against the Lord, right? It's not what he wants for you. It's raging, What's that? Is that a band, Rage Against the Machine or whatever? Or something that people used to say back then. They're like, I'm raging against the machine, and then I think it was a band or something. But you were saying, right? You're raging against the Lord. You're directly defying the Lord. Why? Because you're letting your foolishness pervert your way. Wealth makes many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. Right? Observation from King Solomon. Wealth, you got a lot of friends, but the poor, you don't really got as many. But we're called to be poor in spirit. Why? Because we have our community. Who needs friends? When we talked about we have somebody that sticks closer than a brother last chapter, right? We got brothers. Who needs friends when you got brothers for real? Amen. Amen. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaks lies shall not escape, right? And this is just talking about either the judicial system back then, or you talk about the coming judgment, right? Somebody does you wrong, let the vengeance belong to the Lord as it should be. They will not be unpunished, and they will not escape. Many will entreat the favor of a prince, and every man is a friend to him that gives gifts. So I can attest to this one in my life, right? Many seek the favor of a generous man. Everyone is a friend to a man who gives gifts. That's true and not true at the same time. I'm going through this predicament right now where I know a lot of people that I think are just using me for things, right? And I won't say it's not like I'm not giving it out of the goodness of my heart, because I'm giving it out of the goodness of my heart. However, when it comes time for like showing affection or showing love with that kind of thing, like, right, some thank yous, or just I see you, you don't say what's up, you don't ask me how I'm doing, and none of that. Not like you're obligated to, but it's just like a nice gesture, right? If I'm giving you stuff, if I'm doing things out of the goodness of my heart for you, the least you do is acknowledge my presence, give an extra effort to say like, yo, what's up? Like whenever I see somebody that I haven't seen in a minute, or just I'm passing, even when I'm passing the hallway and I see somebody, like, yo, what's up? How you been, bro? Because it's like, it's good to see somebody. It's good to acknowledge their presence and make their day feel a little bit better. Not everybody has that type of energy, right? So this may be an observation from back then, but I would not say every man is a friend to those who gives gifts, right? There's always going to be those people behind your back who are hating on the fact that you're giving gifts, and they're not, because you're doing better than them, right? But everybody's still going to want his favor. Everybody's still going to want to be his friend because they know he's giving stuff out, right? Mr. Beast. How many people you think hang around Mr. Beast that actually like Mr. Beast? I'm not saying I doubt in the circle, but I'm just saying, like, we would all hang around Mr. Beast if we got the chance. Why? Because bro's giving out a whole bunch of things. Now, if Mr. Beast wasn't giving out a whole bunch of things, would we still be wanting to hang out with him? Chances are No. So I think this also comes with, watch what you're doing, right? Sowing and reaping type thing. You sow generousness, you should reap generousness, right? General principle of the world. That's usually how things go. You should reap some generosity, some niceness back if you're a nice person. However, the Lord says we will suffer persecution. I'm not saying I'm in suffering persecution, but at the same time, it's like I don't have to keep being nice out of the kindness of my heart. And this isn't that if I stop being nice, it's a sin. It's just kind of like I enjoy being nice and I enjoy doing things for other people. But if that's not being reciprocated, what's that say about me and what I'm doing, right? And it's kind of getting to a pride thing, which we'll talk about probably in a part 2 of this chapter, but we'll see if we get there. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far for him? He pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. Now, this grammar is messing me up because I don't exactly know what it's trying to say to me. All the brothers of a poor man hate him. Okay. How much more do his friends abandon him? Okay. Yeah, if his brothers hate him, his friends, they definitely gone. He pursues them with words, but he is gone. I think this might be in reference to this, right? Everybody wants to be the fame of the noble man that give his gifts, but the poor man hates him. He that gets wisdom loves his own soul. He that keeps understanding shall find good. General observation. A false witness shall not be unpunished. He that speaketh lies shall perish. This is literally just bar for bar what he said earlier, right? Literally just bar for bar what he said in verse 5. But anyway, the light is not seemly for a fool, much less for a servant to have rule over princes. And so for the second part of this verse, for a servant to rule over princes, it's saying that Solomon spoke according to the wisdom of the natural man, which places great trust in nobility and family lineage. This is one of the proverbs that the gospel and the new covenant turn on its head. Where those who would be great shall be as servants, not as princes, right? The first will be last, the last shall be first. Not only that, but we're also going to judge angels. Whatever that necessarily means, I don't really know. The discretion of a man defers his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. And if you want that in easier terms, right? Good sense makes you slow to anger. Good sense. How do we get good sense? Wisdom, it comes from God, and he gives you liberally. We learn in James. And it is his glory to overlook an offense. Somebody, anybody, you, me, who not, right? The king's wrath is as the roaming lion. His fate is as the roaring of a lion, but his favor is dew upon the grass, right? A king, you ain't want to mess with a lion when he's getting mad, but his favor, it's like that dewy grass. Now, I don't know if y'all like dewy grass or have any feelings about it, but when I tell you, if you know that grass is clean, first thing in the morning, the sun's out and it's warm, you stand on that wet grass with your straight toes on the ground. I believe the vegan type people call this earthing, I think. But it's like, it's just when you stand barefoot on like dirt or something. But this, oh my gosh, I love standing on grass. There was a while ago, I think for the longest time, one of the first things that was like on my Amazon wish list when I first made an Amazon account was these slides that had like fake grass on them. Because I just imagined in the morning taking a spritz bottle, spraying some water on them, and then just standing in them like, yeah, wet grass on my bare feet. It feels so great. I love being barefoot so much. Such a shame that there's like dirty animals and everywhere, like ants everywhere, ant hills, geese poop everywhere and all that, and then just like it's just dirty anyway, grass is always dirty. But one day I'm gonna get a little plot of like turf, spray it with water in the morning, or maybe it'll become dewy on its own and I'll just stand on my dewy turf. Foolish son is the calamity of his father, right? Is the undoing of his father. And the contentions of a wife are a continual dropping. I don't know what a continual dropping is. It's like a constant dripping. Oh, that's kind of funny. I was talking about this the other day. But at some point in the year, we talked about what's the worst type of torture method you could get, right? And I don't think that somebody brought it up, but we looked up torture methods and we saw Chinese water torture, I believe is what it's called. And if you don't know what it is, imagine a pole stuck in the ground. You're tied, sitting on the ground. So you're on the ground, hands behind your back, tied to the pole. You can't really get up. You can't really move around. It doesn't sound too bad so far. Then all that it is, drip, drip, drip. You just a constant stream of drops of water hitting you on your head or forehead. I don't really remember what, but it's basically just dropping onto your head. And you just gotta take it. You just have to take it. You still sitting there breathing. You just still sitting there awake. I find it'd probably be very hard to go to sleep with you constantly just got water drop just hitting you in the face, And the goal of it was basically just to drive whoever it was to go insane. because I guess the constant drip of water is insane. But even then, in our modern sense, right? You know that the faucet, when you just hear the faucet going, you just hear because it's dripping, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to get up and turn the faucet off all the way. But you're like, it's annoying the ever living crap out of me. Essentially, is what he's saying is the contentions of a wife, right? The anger slash bitterness of a wife. And we could juxtapose that with the last chapter where he says, he who finds a good wife finds a good thing, right? But firstly, just know it's coming from the Lord. Secondly, you got to be doing your part too. It's gotta be like a little balance, right? I'm not gonna say it's gonna be fully impossible for you to just find a wife who you thought was good and then it's just a contentious person. But at the same time, you know you got to be acting right a little bit. You know, you got to be doing your part to make sure that she's a little bit happy. You know what I'm saying? Because especially in biblical times, right? You got to make sure you bringing home the bread. Got to make sure you doing whatever else you got to be doing as a man back then. Protecting, providing, all that. You got to have your sword. Somebody break into the house, it's got to be you. Right? You ain't trying to come home from work just to hear, whack, somebody broke in the house, go get them. And you're like, oh, and you're just getting yelled at for everything. And it's like, I can't do everything, lady. I can't do everything, you know? It's like a constant dripping. There's always something, right? Constant. There's always something, no matter how small the detail. And that's why I see all these memes about men who don't really like their wives or whatever. They just yell about them nagging. I'm like, it's all these little things. You can't do the little things for this person you supposedly love. Like, is it that hard, to be honest? Like, I see the thing where it's like, oh, they leave their clothes all over the floor. Is it that hard to put them in a dang hamper, bruh? Is it that hard? But also, ladies, on the adverse, or on the inverse, on the inverse side, is it that hard to pick it up for them? I get it. You don't want to start a bad habit, but at the same time, there's a point where it's like you're not bringing it up, and it's just like he keeps throwing his clothes on the ground, and then you wait and you wait, and then that resentment builds up into you until you snap. Or, you know, you notice it once and you're like, maybe he missed, maybe he forgot. Second time, you're like, all right, it's time 2. Something's wrong. Strike 3, you're like, okay. You pick it up for him, and then you're like, hey, I noticed that I've been seeing your clothes on the ground a lot. Would you just mind putting them in the hamper for it? It makes it a lot easier on me when I have to go do laundry. Especially if you're pregnant or something. Like, I can't really be bending down to pick up these clothes because I got a baby in the way. Like, you know, could you just be a little bit more mindful for me? And that's all I ask, right? It doesn't hurt to ask nicely. Right? And then we see that something like that in like verse 1 or something. Nah, I was thinking of the Prince verse, but you get what I'm saying, right? If you love this person, it shouldn't be that hard to, like, you know, go out of your way to make their life easier or not start fights. I just find that so dumb. But maybe it's because I grew up in a household with a lot of fighting. You know, I was just sitting there like, is it that hard? And I see all these memes and I'm like, is it that hard? Do you actually love these people? Like, the sacrifices that you have to make for marriage are, one, they're already very minimal, right? Think about it like this. You're 2 people living alone. You would be having to do your own laundry every day, making your own bed every day, doing your own dishes every day, cooking for yourself every day, and so forth and so on. You have somebody that can help you do all these things that you would have been doing yourself. But now you have somebody to help you. They're helping you. No matter how small the thing is, it's better and easier than being alone most of the time. Right, most of the time. And some arguments and some memes, I look at this and I'm like, you act like this is not the person you said from sickness till health, death do us part on the altar. You ain't made no vows to him. You act like this is not that same person. That person you ain't fell in love with. Them feelings ain't still there. You can't just pick up your clothes a little bit, make their life easier, make them happier. Right? It's all about sacrifice and compromise. And when you truly love somebody, it doesn't really matter, right? That's the whole thing God said. He said he's writing our law on our hearts. And guess what we got to do to show him we love him? We make some sacrifices, we make some compromises. But guess what? We get good things out of that. We get promises out of that, gifts out of that, blessings out of that. God says, all right, here's this joy that shall never leave your heart. Here's this patience. Here's this prudence, this wisdom. Because you gave up X, Y, and Z that I ain't really like you doing like that. And you listened and you obeyed. So here's these gifts that come with that level of obeying. But hey, what do I know? I'm not married. I did want to be a marriage counselor at some point, but what do I know? I'm not married. What do I know? It doesn't seem that hard to me. It does not seem that hard to me to have a successful, good, happy marriage. Right? A lot of what people complain about is little things that they can easily fix, and I think it becomes a pride thing. We'll definitely talk about pride in part 2, so stay tuned. All right, that's gonna be the end of the video. Hope you guys have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.